Alright, let's do a astrological analysis for this Gemini new moon for the fire signs. Oh crap, I gotta set this up. Alright, we're gonna do it like this. Alright, if you have solar fire, like it works on PCs, Windows OS, which sucks, but if you've got an OS, I guess it's a decent one. If you got solar fire and you want to rectify a chart to make a rising sign, you just open the chart up and you do this. This is a quick tip. You're not going to get this from Adam Ellenboss. This is a Savage original right here. Or that dude from Colorado. I don't even know his name. Bald guy. Alright, in any case. We're going to do Gemini new moon. And this is for Aries sun moon rising. Look at that third house, okay, the 12 in here. Dividing the day, dividing your life into areas of dynamic interaction, epigenetics, relational friction. Gemini is the mind, often said, represents thinking, represents siblings, communication, your local surroundings, and essentially it's me, and I'm moving out, branching out. My awareness is creeping out, very spider-like. It's low floating air. It gets in all the nooks and crannies. It can find details, can find information, find analysis, and it's learning the value of what that is. And ultimately it's something we feel within ourselves, and how we can bring that into creative flow in this life and set fire to something that will burn bright, long, and strong, so we can move forward with an understanding of who and what we are in relation to the ignorance of the unknown. That's the fool's journey energy. So we see Venus here conjunct this new moon. Venus, you know, a lot of good things, a lot of things with Venus. What is the value of beauty? What is the value of the felt presence of experience? What is the medium of that value? How do you express it? How do you share it? How do you give it? How do you take it? Why do you fight? And what's the value of peace? The pleasure and the pain dynamics. So Venus here, the compromise, she was in Leo with a retrograde last summer. She's been in a big cycle here, and it has to do a lot with our own repressions and the black moon Lilith element of the anima and the animus, and the inner rebellion, and how you march forward with that fire. Do you burn the world down? Do you burn yourself down? Do you do both? Or are you wielding it, learning as you go? Gemini can get us caught up in the data as it's known, the experiences as they've been felt, the charge of the psyche, the volcano at the bottom of the ocean. It is ready to surge, but it needs reflection, it needs relation in order for that to have a place to express. And when you can't find it in the world in a way that's actually beneficial for you or others, because consensus narration's giving you all these little feudalistic expressions of polarization to grab hold of, the only place to go is within, and that's through the history of the self, to burn away the shadows so you can find the purity of your own authentic expression. And it is in the language of life that we find that meaning. When you learn something, sometimes it resonates, and it's like you're remembering because you're finding language for something you felt, something eternal, it's spirit. So what have you compromised, and what have you expected others to compromise? Sometimes with intention and sometimes with ignorance. How do you not get hung up on the past, but move forward realizing that, well, that's the process of ignorance feeding into this awareness, so I can bank it as knowledge and I can apply it through intention and cultivate wisdom. And now let's talk about how we do that here. First, let's look at Pluto retrograde, 2 degrees of Aquarius, basically. Trining Jupiter at 2 degrees Gemini. Trining the Libra point and sextiling the Aries point. Pluto will go back into Capricorn so that we can rehash, reassess, and finally lay to waste those things which had limited us from the past. And so that we can realize that it was partly our own limitations, primarily our own limitations, and it was because we just didn't know we were learning. So the fire of Aries, the spark of life, in action being born, is set into form in Taurus. The spirit of Taurus is Aries. And this is Western Tropical I'm speaking. So oftentimes we don't even know what that spark is. We have a feeling we're going with what feels right. What is the right pull? What flow is natural, the most natural. But then we're boxed in by the square of Cancer, our emotions, and form, Capricorn, expectation, societal narration, obligation. And we hone our discipline in the oscillation of ourself and others through Libra. Us in the world. And we're looping information, experiences, emotions until the demons can be released or the gods can be born. And this conscious awareness is boils down, burns down to our acceptance. And oftentimes we're the ones who are safeguarding that for good reasons, but the reasons need time to mature so we can truly assess them in the mind, in the language of the felt presence of experience. So Jupiter here can help us. It's 2 degrees Gemini, and we've got Mercury in a new phase conjunction. So Mercury is reassessing the compromise of the self, understanding that all information is only as good as it serves in the moment in time. The death of absolution comes with time. So bringing Mercury into a new phase conjunction with this new moon conjunct Venus, you can accept your ignorance. You don't have to absolve yourself of any crime. But you can accept that you were ignorant and you can do better for yourself, and maybe you can share that through just being an authentic force, being a creative force, and letting others see how that's done. When someone makes a mistake, when someone falls down, they get up and they overcome or they grow through that. That is very powerful. That's more powerful than all the books and anything ever written. People resonate with that, the fire, they can feel it and it's within them, and you give birth to that by being it for yourself. Now Black Moon Lilith is conjunct the South Node, so it is the repressions of ourselves and others in relation, and oftentimes people can't handle the rawness or the expression of authenticity because we may not have control over it ourselves, which reinforces another's fear of their own. But at least if you can face it, if you can harness it, and you can call it out and see what it is without judging it, that's a power not many people will ever be able to hold, because they're too caught up in the external, into the expectation of an absolution of a relational dynamic. So know that at times your consciousness is going to get pulled into shadow, and at times you're going to be realizing. And that's when you're bringing a union of opposites, so that you can create something through that friction. Now Saturn here, squaring this new moon. Disillusionment of falsehoods. We see it all over the world, but more so it's just a reflection of what's happening within us. And if you can be aware that you're going to be ebbing and flowing, falling apart and building yourself back up through cultivating your own compromises rather than the shoulda, coulda, woulda, or what can be positive and negative in this reality, then you're going to bring the primal expression, the prime expression of self to any situation. I mean, that sense of self is foundation for all life. And to be aware that you're cultivating it in real time is a very powerful gift to hold, and it's not easy. But if you can just keep that in mind, remember that from time to time, then you realize, that you're growing, you're a student, you're flowing in life. Alright, so that was a Gemini new moon analysis for Aries. Now let's look at Leo here.
So did Conan return the wayward daughter of King Osric to her home,
pizza, lamb,
and having
Jackie
no
Chan.
further concern, he and his companions sought adventure in the west.
Alright, so 11th house here, Leo, Sun, Moon, Rising, or nodes, if you got nodes on the axis. The dreams, the unity, the vision, the friends, the result of your ancestors. The expression of a divine unknown, your ultimate destination, the refinement of your spirit through lived expression, the creative in life, an eternal fire handed down forever and ever, essentially. So the new moon in Gemini, you see Venus there, conjunct the new moon, rekindling, remembering the forgotten parts of ourselves and the compromises, and understanding, of course, that it's an oscillation between the actor and the action, essentially. There are many layers happening all the time. The wind's blowing in many directions, and the information and the data sets and the way we relate to reality is settling all the time, and it's asking us, challenging us, do we settle on this, or is this placeholder for the truth we are cultivating, we're bringing to form, we are refining, we are burning through, we are purifying? How do I bring that into service of self so that I can share that with others intentionally or through my own ignorance, simply by living an expression of self-worth? How do you bring a dream into reality, and what would that dream hold? How can you lift up Venus, your value? How do you transform your value? How do you spiritualize life, ritualize existence? How do you work your expression into this world so that it's benefiting yourself and others? How do you do that in the most natural way so that you are part of creative change naturally? Allowing the purity of who you are to naturally find resonance with what is needed in this world. Burning only the things which are worthy of burning for creation. Well, look to Saturn here, squaring this new moon. Saturn is in the transformational energies for Leo right now. Saturn, ruler of Aquarius and Capricorn, co-ruled with Uranus in Aquarius. You know, it's the disillusionment of what we thought was holy, what we had held as canon, the dogmas of our beliefs, the convictions which have crucified us for conformity's sake so that we can settle on convenience in life. What did that bring you? What does that bring us ultimately? How can you realize who you were isn't who you are now? And even though you might have had a lot of success or failures, that what matters is here today going forward. And you're rebuilding, bringing spirit to form always. You're always in the Kalis, dying and being reborn. And you bring that form into your presence and reality in this world. So now Pluto is on your descendant, so the transformation of the world and yourself in relation to what that is. Pluto's retrograde trining Jupiter at 2 degrees Gemini. And trining Libra point, sextiling the Aries point. So this is a creative balance of the self and the other here. Allowing what within you that needs to burn off to be shown to you through what you are not. What does consensus reality narration ask us to sacrifice of ourselves so that its icon may rise? Is that worthy? If not, how do you pull that energy back and repurpose that for your own transmutation so you can bring fire to truth? And you don't have to get a channel or go protest anything. You have to be aware of it so that those who know you feel the truth of who you are, and it's up to them to figure out their own language. You don't have to prove anything, but you will simply by finding it within yourself, and that's a language that we're all learning, and that's what this Gemini new moon is teaching us. There's a difference between memorization, learning stuff, and actually thinking, being able to think, and the difference is in how deeply you can meet yourself, how deeply you can dive into the pain, and pull that shadow to the light of yourself so you can burn it and recharge the spirit. You're in a powerful position always, but you can speak truth to meaning. And more so, you can follow truth to meaning through finding it within yourself and being open to the changing world so that your purity finds resonance with reality and you settle into your own cultivation. Now, North Node is in Aries, opposing Black Moon Lilith, the repressions, the anima of the animus, the inward rebellions, learning how to manage, wield fire. So following that which nourishes your spirit, feeds your soul, will never be wrong. But if you do that in a way where you are in flow with creative expression, with natural expression, with the cosmos itself, which is always creating, other things have to fall away in order for the awareness to create new, to settle on new. How do you do that for yourself? When you can find the languages, the medium of life to do that, then you show others by example. Alright, now let's look at this Gemini new moon for the sign of Sag.
Listen.
How much is
Just
this?
listen for a minute. The sustain, listen to it.
I'm not hearing anything.
You would, though, if it were playing, because
Yeah.
it really, it's famous for its sustain. I mean, you can just hold it.
Well, I mean, so you'd have to...
You can, because if you can see,
Yeah.
the numbers all go to 11. Look, right across the board. 11,
Oh, I see.
11,
And most of
11,
the
and then
amps go up to 10.
Exactly.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
Alright, so Sagittarius, my Jupiterian compadres, the transformation of Taurus where Uranus is. You got all this energy opposing you. Basically, it's in relation to you unconsciously or consciously, and it's through being alive. I'm standing here, I can feel the air, the wind, the pressure, inside, outside, mentally, emotionally, spiritually maybe. It depends on how crazy you're willing to admit yourself to be. Because the language of truth can't be shared, and that's a very isolating, lonely path, and that's a Sagittarian curse, you know. But the curse is the blessing, it's just an oscillation. And our awareness comes and goes because we get caught in the real flows. We're cultivating spirit here. So Gemini new moon, you see Venus there, conjunct the new moon, the compromise. And it's in your natural Libran dynamics, which is through Gemini for the rising. But you can think of it for your sun or moon as well. Just think of it through the archetype of that planetary energy. And you can get a picture of some dynamics. You can narrow in on the dynamics if you need the language. Now for me, as I age, I'm a Sag rising. I care less about the information and more about the meaning. It's a cultivation of the value of your belief, not so much what you believe. Because only truth can settle. Everything else will burn, eventually fade away. So doing that for yourself through who you are not, what information is worth fighting for, and what information can you release, that's a key. Now you got Pluto here retrograde at 2 degrees Aquarius, trining Jupiter at 2 degrees Gemini in that new phase. Mercurial connection there, as Mercury is coming into a balsamic phase conjunction with the new moon. So the transformation of your spirit through past enemies and realizing with Black Moon Lilith on the South Node that our own repressions were our own worst enemy, but we needed others to help us to understand, and they needed us for the same reasons. And so we're showing each other this is the alchemy of life, and we're learning hermetics through dynamics. And you may not be able to speak that to others, you could show them. the best way to speak truths to others is to find it within yourself, and then your process becomes the result, and you share that unconsciously or consciously. Your transformation here is in Cancer. So we live for what had been so that what can be is will be. But maybe sometimes we feel like that. Other times maybe we're more nihilistic. So that too is an oscillation. It depends on what is burning within us, what spirit is rising. So to get to the heart of that, look at Vesta in Cancer. Vesta is that passion, the Vestal virgins, the purity of the fire, the truth, the healing waters. Your emotions are the healing waters. The emotions are what keeps you going. The wounds keep us going. But we do not need to worry about sacrificing who we are for healing those wounds. We actually honor what those wounds had been to show them to show ourselves, to show others what they can be. There are no mistakes, they're just harsh lessons, We learn with time what that actually is. More importantly, what we can do with it. It starts within us, and it's a very lonely, isolating place sometimes, but that's how you bring wisdom to the masses. You don't have to be anything, but you will be an anomalous, outside the pale type of person sometimes in relation to consensus normals. Normations. Don't let normation get a hold of you. Alright, so North Node in Aries here. We had the Mars-Chiron conjunction. We're probably still feeling it. I know I've been digesting. When you're down and up, that just means you're doing a lot of emotional transmutation. It's your psyche trying to break, find expression. So creation, travel, hiking, nature. Find a river, stand in the river, feel the flow, close your eyes, feel the wind, feel the warmth of the sun, the cold of the rain, whatever you're facing, feel the elements. Know that that's what you are, and sometimes you're little or all of one of them. Alright, that's what I have for you, Sag. Alright, so that was a breakdown of the Gemini new moon for the fire signs. Thanks for watching, listening, and being.